Okay, so now we're going to do it in general. Instead of having a number as my second term, where I'm multiplying by, I'm going to do a series like this. 1 plus y. So I'm multiplying by y every time.
Can y be any whole number?
It can be any real number.
I mean, anything.
Maybe it doesn't even have to be real.
Yeah, I don't know. That might be something to ask about. What would the next term be?
Well, wouldn't it would be y times something. It would be y times some.
Why times y?
Y times y. From one term to the next, I multiply always by the same thing. So I multiply by y. So the next term is
y squared.
Y squared.
So and then plus y cubed.
Plus y cubed.
And then this x.
And we'll just say this is x, some unknown x. I got an unknown y on this side and I got an unknown x on this side. We're trying to see what this series sums up to.
Well,
we can multiply by y.
Yeah, what's an interesting thing to multiply by here?
Y.
Well, because we're trying to solve the equation. So what's an interesting thing to multiply by?
The letter y.
Alright, so we multiply by
Y.
y, and we get y plus y squared plus y cubed plus y to the fourth
And then
dot dot dot
this is y.
equals
X times y.
x times y. Now, some people watching the movie are going to say that's not what we did in the last equations. When we had 1 plus a half plus a fourth, what did we multiply by?
We multiplied by 2.
And what's y here?
Y.
Y is a half.
Y is a half. But it's fine. We did do one example where instead of, well, I think it was for the 1/3, instead of we multiplied by a third,
Yeah.
just to see what happens. Okay? What do we do now? What subtraction are we going to do here?
Well, maybe we could. Well, we don't have. Well, we could. We don't have any. We don't have any one in this term.
We don't have any ones here, right?
So maybe we could subtract away x. Well,
We can
Maybe-
subtract.
x.
We can subtract maybe what this. Maybe we could ignore the 1 for now and subtract y plus y squared plus y cubed from y squared plus y cubed plus y to the fourth.
Okay, but I want to keep the 1. That's an.
Well, then the term would be the y minus 1.
Well, what do you want to subtract from 1 here?
Well, I want to subtract this part x from x times y.
Okay, so you want to take this equation and subtract away this equation.
So
Yeah, that's what
y
we've been doing.
y minus 1
Okay,
times x.
all right. So what do I get then when I subtract? I start with this equation and I subtract this one away. What am I left with?
If you're left with y minus, well, actually, if we subtract in the way we did, then the y stays separate. The bottom y.
Show me what you mean.
So we were subtracting in this way.
Okay.
So this gets subtracted from 0. Well, 0 gets subtracted from it. So
Right. So is that the best way to subtract here?
Well, we're subtracting a 1 away from a y
actually, you could
squared.
subtract this way,
Ah, okay.
and
Alright.
then because you have the same terms.
You have the same terms. I'd like to pair up those terms.
So then, all you get left is 1. Because you're subtracting away these terms and you have 1 left over.
Okay. So what am I left with when I do the subtraction? Where am I starting?
You're starting
At
at over here.
Okay, I'm starting on the bottom, and what am I subtracting?
You're subtracting the top away, so it's a minus 1.
Okay, so I'm subtracting up here, right?
Yeah.
So this becomes a minus 1 on this side. Okay, so I have a minus 1.
So 1 minus 1.
And what does it equal on this side?
Well, it's x times y minus 1.
It's x times y minus the x.
Minus x. It's this, x times y, minus that x.
So y.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Y.
Okay, well, let me write. X times y minus x. Okay, now what were you going to say?
So the x's cancel.
But you're multiplying. You have this. You're multiplying this one by a factor of y.
Yeah. So the x's don't cancel. I'm not left with y on that side. So for example, if x is 5 and y is 2, bad example, y is 3, I get 15 minus 5,
Yeah.
which is
That would be
10. So I'm not left with
Just
an
y.
x over there. What am I left with on that side?
Well, if you could factor out an x.
I can factor out an x and I'm left with what?
Y minus 1.
Y minus 1. Okay?
Mhm.
And so what does x equal?
So x is minus 1 over y minus 1.
Over y minus 1. I just divided by y minus 1. And I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by minus 1 to say this is 1 over 1 minus y. Okay?
Yep.
Do you see what I did?
Yeah.
Do you?
Mm,
I multiplied the top and the bottom by minus 1. So it's okay if that's really multiplying by 1. Minus 1 divided by minus 1. Minus 1 times minus 1 is
It's going to be 1.
1. Minus 1 times y minus 1 is minus y plus 1.
Yay.
Okay? So for this series, 1 plus y squared plus y cubed, it turns out to sum up to be 1 over 1 minus y. Now let's see if that is consistent with what we looked at before.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.